Irish immigrant, and it is likely that Hannah had TB from the time she was young. Hannah was already showing signs of TB, and the toll on her body during pregnancy certainly did not increase her lifespan. She did have another child after Raymond was born, and that put her in a decline. She went to sea with her husband, and her daughter Amelia went along to care for her. Hannah did live long enough to arrive back in St. John, although she was very close to death. Had she died at sea, she would have been buried at sea. Raymond and all the other children went to St. John to see their mother on the ship. Hannah was very close to death. Imagine all these children so anxious to see their mother, and the older ones remembering her as she was going away. Raymond always said he could remember being so scared at the gangplank and not wanting to go up the ship. He remembered someone picking him up and carrying him to the ship. It must have been very upsetting to the children going down to the captain's room and expecting to see their mother as she was when she went away, and instead seeing the skeleton with skin struggling to take her next breath and coughing and gagging with black blood coming from her mouth. And every breath was so labor.
Very graphic.
Well, it would have terrified those children.
Oh, God.
It would be doubtful that she even was aware of the children being there. She was so close to death. The children must have been very upset after this visit. After the death of his mother, Raymond was raised by aunts, Mary Ann being the aunt most mentioned. His older sisters were also responsible for his upbringing. He did have a younger brother and two older brothers. However, his older brother was 13 years older and Edwin was 11 years older. Raym, as the family would call him, became close to his sisters. He would not have much time with his father as he went back to sea after the death of his wife. It must have been growing up that he became so interested in the money, or the lack of it. It seems that the Holders were not successful as other captains were. Travel throughout seaside communities of New Brunswick, such as Alma, St. Martin's, Riverside, Albert, and you'll see grand old homes that were built by sea captains of the area. However, there is never a home built by Holders of that size. The letters are filled with reference to money, and most of the time it's worry over bills due or no money for rent. Even if it was 1800s, leaving your wife with $5 and 7 children and a rent to pay for months would be cause for concern. Raymond became a sea captain at the age of 24. He did return to Holderville often, and it appears that he and his sister Amelia were close. She writes in 1911 that he had no prospects of a wife, as he did not seem to want one, and there did not seem to be anyone that wanted him. However, as Raym got older, he must have thought that a wife would take care of him. He did try to court Minnie Williams and asked her hand several times, 18 to be exact. He would go to Minnie's to help with the chores and show her what a help he would be around the place. Minnie was likely more desirable in Raym's eyes, as she had a place of her own, and this would mean that he would not have to spend any money to get them established. The romance came to an abrupt ending when Minnie caught Raym drinking the skin milk that was to go to the pigs. Isn't she the one that killed the coyote? Raym, it's lucky he escaped all his parts and
fingers and everything.
And everything. His next romance was Sarah Holder Lamb, a widow with 2 boys. They were married in 1922. However, this marriage ended after a short time. Sarah went to the States to live with her boys. Raym was not easy to live with, as he expected his wife to love money the way he did. He would not give Sarah 15 cents to pay her way to St. John. He would walk it just to save the money and expected her to do the same. Sarah certainly showed an independent spirit in leaving Raym, as most women would have stayed no matter what the circumstances were. Amelia was upset with Raym after his breakup, as in her letter she states that money was his God, and that all he talked about. Sarah did not come back to live with Raym, as she wrote him a letter, and he sent back and asked to reply, and that was the end of the marriage. Raym did not go back to sea after his marriage. Raym did go back to sea after his marriage ended. He was shipwrecked in the West Indies during a hurricane in 1928, and that ended his sailing career. After that, he seemed to drift from one place to another. He spent quite a bit of time with Grace and Thurlow, and their children can remember him offering money to them so he could have their desserts. He could live with Grace, even though there were times when his ranting would bring her to tears. He was very upset when Grace passed away, and in her memory painted the schoolhouse and paid for it to paint himself. He had some strange ideas. He would not sell his house to Margaret and Lauren. This would be on Charlotte's house, because Margaret was not marrying an old man twice her age who Raym thought would make her a good husband. However, when Ken Miller asked to buy the house, he sold it immediately to Charlotte and Ken. He would pass advice to his nieces and nephews on how to save money and not to spend it foolishly. Jean was not to have her fortune told ever again. He told Uncle Raym that was how she'd spent her money one day. He spent his final years with Margaret and Lauren in Fredericton. Lauren must have forgiven him by that time for not selling the house to him. He died in 1955 at the age of 91. What a change he witnessed during his time, from sailing ships to cars to television, phones, and tractors, plus the change in society. He lived through 2 world wars, plus a war in South Africa, medicines invented that would have saved his mother's life, and people flying around the world in a few days, not the weeks it took him to sail ships.
And you know,